Welcome back to Runabout Revival. In this episode, we're gearing up for a roller coaster of progress and challenges as we continue to elevate the performance of our machine. It's a reality check, a moment of testing our resilience and problem-solving skills. The road to automotive excellence is often dotted with unexpected twists. Alongside the triumph of installations, we encounter a couple of hurdles, challenges that could potentially set back the project. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. This is Runabout Revival. Quick update. Right after I posted that video, about 3 hours after it posted, this box showed up with the PRP parts. I realized after I watched that video this morning that I actually was calling this, instead of Platinum Racing Products, which is actual name, I was calling it Platinum Motorsports, which is not the same company at all. Sorry for the confusion, guys. Anyways, just open the box, play this stuff out. If you can see here, it has these little scan codes for the install instructions. I haven't actually gotten that far yet, so I'm going to download those and then start working on starting to assemble this stuff. I was also going to look at, now that I have the bracket for the injectors, by the way, these are GTR injectors, pretty awesome. A little update here. So I unpackaged the PRP parts. These are the parts for the top end. I also have separately the electrical harness here, which I'm going to integrate into this. It basically has the other side of the connector ready to go there. It's a Deutsch type connector. I'm going to integrate that, replace the distributor wiring in the harness, and also that means getting rid of the new connectors that I got for that, as well as the igniter. I also did get the new connectors for the injectors and the narrowband O2 sensor right here, right there. More to come on that, but this part here, and I've already been in contact with PRP several times over the last couple of days, and they're working on fixing this issue. But if you'll notice, I'll just put up the other picture on the side here. There are two parts where this does not work for my setup, and this was actually different from the picture on the website, which was the part I thought I was buying. However, they've upgraded it so it works with Gen 3 and Gen 4, and allegedly Gen 2, but not really Gen 2. The issue is here, because I intend to use the throttle body bracket. If you'll notice here, there's 3 holes there in the center. Top one is a through bolt for the valve cover. The bottom 2 on the left and right there, these 2 here, those are for the throttle body bracket, and there's no holes for it. Months ago when I was considering whether to go with this or the Racer X part, I wanted to make sure that one, the AN fitting clears on this first cylinder here for that PCV valve that I'm going to replace. And this will clear that allegedly. I haven't tested that yet because I have to pull the valve cover off to pull that off to actually replace that with the press-in AN fitting. More to come on that. But it's not going to fit. And the problem is if I pull those bolts out on the bottom, there's these 2 channels here which will just basically pass water into those open holes as the top of the valve cover is at an angle coming down, actually just funnel water right into those holes. Not a great solution for that. So they've actually found 1 or 2 of the old style brackets that do fit a Gen 2 and do have those provisions already. So they're going to be, I guess, getting those together and finding one that is in blue. Allegedly they have found a purple one of the last generation. Prefer to keep everything blue in there if possible. So they're working on finding me either a silver one, which won't be as bad as purple, or remilling a specific one now that they know that this doesn't really fit on a Gen 2. So more to come on that. I wanted to take a look at, how do I install this? I know it's a press fit AN adapter for the breather tube there for the valve cover. However, on the back, it says scan here for instructions, and it goes to a page that doesn't exist on their website. So I emailed them as well. I looked at the product page just to make sure it wasn't on there. It's not. It's probably very simple, but rather than mess it up, I figured I'd check with them first and see if they could just email me what they had, and I can go from there. This is going to replace that charcoal canister has been sitting. Just left that there for now, but it's coming out finally, so I'm not sure yet if I'm going to rotate the top. Also, in last night's video, I think I kept talking about these 2 inlets, or excuse me, this is the inlet This is the outlet. I think I said it backwards in the video last night. Pretty typical. I'm always calling nuts bolts or bolts and nuts or cables wires. So take anything I say with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to the wiring stuff. I'm new with wiring. I laugh every time I make a new video talking about the wiring where I'm talking about, oh, this goes to the AEM or this goes to the fuse block, because it's kind of a mix and I won't really know until I start going through and attaching everything. But just give me a grain of salt on that stuff. I promise I'll get to it and I'll show you what I mean. But sorry for the confusion. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and download these instructions and start looking about how I can start doing some of this install for these parts. And once I get those instructions read through, I'll probably film it. So it won't just be me talking about parts in the next video. So more to come. Okay, just starting to put some of this stuff on. The catch can comes with 4 screws, 4 washers, the double washer here. They're all the same, so 2 in here, little one, big one, obviously. This bracket attaches to the inside of the shock tower here. There's a bolt hole there, and there's a bolt hole there. I'm also going to remove the charcoal canister. It's just been laying in there, not really connected or attached to anything. Finally getting rid of that, so I'm going to take that out, put the bracket in, and go from there. This is the piece that goes to the charcoal canister that's attached to that stabilizer mount underneath next to the engine mount here. It actually goes through this bolt back here, so I took that bolt out. There's also another bolt hole right there. Those are those 2 eyelets here. So I remove that piece, and then just to get it out of there for now, this part here is just loose that's connected down there. I'm gonna have to get into the car and remove it, but I'm not gonna reuse this, so just went ahead and lopped it off with my cutting tool here. A little easier to use this with a metal blade than it is to get out a cutoff wheel and try to get it in there without nicking anything else. So this made a real quick job of it. And then this can go in the trash. That should clear enough room for us to now put this in place with the 2 supplied hardware bolts. I'll do that now. See if I can film it. That'd be cool. I want to film some stuff for my channel. There we go. See if it stays. Probably not. Have to reroute some stuff over here. All right, and I'll tighten that down here in a second. Just finger tight for now. More to come. I'm going to go ahead and replace this distributor here and add in our cam sensor from Racer X right there. And then we'll go down and add the crank sensor on the bottom end as well. To remove the distributor, there's 2 14mm bolts. There's the top one, and then there's one slightly under here. I'm going to remove those 2, and that unit should come straight out. Yep, that's coming off real good. I'm going to move the camera and try it with 2 hands. Well, came off there. Gonna do a little cleanup, but just a snug fit. Give it a little yank and popped right out. Now, when you're replacing the key in this thing, you'll notice that the center shaft there is slightly off center. So make sure you're paying attention to that when you're sliding in the new key from Racer X so it matches up. Okay, put the new trigger in. Once you get it aligned, I use this mirror here to kind of look down the hole with my light. So I knew the orientation of the inside trigger there. And then once you get it aligned, it slides right in, and you pretty much know that it's in place because it won't turn because it's locked into the cam now. So that's a good sign. Looks to be good. Now I'm going to put the cover over it, secure it with these 2 hex bolts here. And I got to check the torque specs on these, but those bolts that came out, those 214s, were pretty tight. There's really no lateral load on that, so we just have to make sure it stays on there. Here in the instructions it says 29 foot-pounds on those 2 hex bolts. Alright, the new cam trigger is on. I just finger tighten those bolts. Okay, tighten down, and I just need to add the hall sensor. Instructions say screw the hall sensor in here. There's a hole for it. Screw it down until it touches, and then turn it off counterclockwise 2 full rotations. That should give it the gap it needs in order to read that sensor properly. And that is a wrap on the old ignition system. You got the distributor, NGK blue cables, the igniter, and yada yada. So don't need any of that anymore. Bye-bye. Okay, about to put on the crank hall sensor, and you see here factory crank. Remove these 2 bolts. After you get the crank in the top dead position, you mount the inner mount and the ring on top of it, and then of course the hall sensor holder itself. And I was getting ready to do that, took the wheel off. Sorry, it's pretty crusty down here. And then I remembered I actually have an underdrive pulley on the alternator from Unorthodox Racing, which I'm not even sure is a company anymore. Bracket won't mount to that, so I'm gonna have to figure something out there. These two screws go into the pulley, but they're made for the factory pulley, not this one. Probably have to take off the alternator belt. Luckily this car doesn't have air conditioning, so it's just one belt, and remove the crank pulley. Honestly, I'm not sure how hard or easy that's gonna be. Probably not easy. Put the new one in place, the factory one, get the correct belt, and put it all back together. So I'm gonna have to wait on that. And on our factory harness, just for comparisons here, this goes to the distributor, and this goes to the igniter. We're not going to use either one of these pieces. So I'm going to mark these with red zip ties, so I know that I'm going to be removing this as well from our example harness here, so when I rebuild the new one, don't have to worry about those two lugs. Originally I thought I was going to just build this with the distributor stuff, but not going to work like that, so I do have the new plugs for both of those. I have a ton of parts, so the next time I go out to a meet, I'm probably going to bring a tub or two in the Jeep of just everything MR2 that I don't need anymore. So if you guys need any of these parts, you can always hit me up and I'll be able to get rid of some of the stuff at least out of my garage. If you look down here, pretty much all of that, except for, you see there's a Toyota Lexus box back here and one on top of it. One of those is a shroud for this front piece that has broken in a couple of screw holes, so just got a whole new shroud here. And the other one is these two window sills here that are just completely busted from the Arizona sun. So I have those two. I'm going to wait to replace those when I paint the car, because this has to come off. So they'll remove the glass, remove this, paint the car, and then the new ones will go on in place of these old ones. So no need to put them on now because they're gonna have to put them off anyway. So, but yeah, all this stuff under here, other than those two large boxes, are parts I no longer need. You got steering shaft there. There's a pretty much mint NA body harness, which will work with the swaps as well. Just have to change a couple wires. Got the scoops here. Actually was going to use these, but I've decided to go with the whole Greddy side clips now that MR2 Heaven is going to be making those soon. Places this with the single inlet, and then the whole bottom piece here, and up part of this way here. One unit, and so I'm just going to get that instead, I think. More to come there.